IBM? Just their computer business?
I think it's just the PC group.
Not the corporation?
Yeah, not the, is it the entire corporation?
From what I understand, yeah. No, IBM still publicly traded corporation.
Oh, okay. I think it's just the PC division. Did it happen recently or a few years back?
A couple years ago.
A couple years ago, that's just the PC division. IBM was really smart to let go of their PC division because there's no money to be made. There's only support issues, which is costing money, and there's no money to be made. Yep.
Yeah, I do contract work for IBM, and there isn't a whole lot to do anymore. They're losing business out to Dell. In this area, I'm one of maybe about four guys that work the contracts, and there isn't a whole lot of work.
Yep.
I'm watching it just degrade. People are going to other products.
Yep.
Dell's a heavy competitor.
Their business model, they want IBM to be a management technology.
Exactly.
They want the core corporation is all they want. They don't want to make anything else. They just want to help other corporations make things.
Yeah. That's contract based, they deliver service. They don't deliver
It was a big deal. They
products.
The whole company to basically lay everybody off except for that
core portion.
component.
Yep. Go ahead.
Is this true for the IBM international market, or is it just only in the U.S. that they're not as strong as Dell?
IBM, you mean the PC market? Well, in terms of the PC market, all the Asian countries are much stronger because of less expensive labor in those countries. All the computers that you buy here, or practically all computers that you purchase, they're either completely made somewhere else, like in China or Taiwan or some other places in Southeast Asia, or they have components that are completely manufactured overseas. Yep. Oh, sorry.
At least Dell, Lenovo, at least even Mac, they're all manufactured in one factory in Taiwan.
Yep. Go ahead.
Didn't IBM just switch to research like Watson?
They have IBM does a lot of different things. So Watson is one of the kind of side quote unquote side projects, but it was definitely a successful one because they're now trying to apply what they have learned with Watson to medical diagnostic systems. Because if Watson can answer those questions, let me rephrase it. If Watson can play Jeopardy by asking the questions, like the way that a normal player would, it actually has enough intelligence, quote unquote intelligence, and methods to extract information from a database to be more useful as a medical consultation type of system. So IBM is actually trying to use their research, which is not going to make much money, and they're trying to capitalize, that research and turn it into, something they can make money out of. But as far as I understand, IBM's business model is the delivery of service. Okay, you need something done, we'll do it. Okay, instead of selling individual components. Okay, instead of licensing, their operating system or selling you individual, computers, they are basically saying, if you have any information system needs, we'll sit down, we'll talk, and we'll make it work for you. Okay, if you want us to put something together, you just tell us what you need out of it. Okay, we'll make the rest happen. Okay. I really hate to do it, in this particular setting, but it's really a good analogy. Instead of selling guns, they're selling the surface. Okay, you don't even need to touch the gun. Tell me how you want to use the gun, and it'll be done. Okay, I know it's really bad, but that's basically what it is. Okay, they're selling a surface. They're not, saying, oh, we'll sell you individual bullets. Okay, we'll sell you individual guns. Nope. Just tell me, which rifle you want to get rid of, and it'll be done. When, how, just let us know. Just pay up. Right.
We see the same thing reflected in smartphone and phone industry. You can get the phone real cheap because they know they can get you consistently with the service.
It's the service, exactly. Well, this really is a good lead-in to some of the topics that we're still talking about in operating systems. So let's go down, scroll down to the part where we have compatibility, we have GUI. So what we just talked about, about Xerox, PARC, P-A-R-C, has to do with, graphical user interface. Because before that, computers were not exactly user-friendly, let's just say. All right, so we are moving on to operating systems, and this is a really, really fun topic. There's a whole lot of history behind all of these operating systems, particularly Microsoft Windows. So if you go to Wikipedia and look up Microsoft Windows, you will see that it has a really long history, okay? And it has actually morphed many, many times into the product that we see today. Microsoft Windows is a product that includes, a few things, okay? It includes the core operating system, a GUI, the graphical user interface, and some core applications. Okay, now let us really make it clear what is an operating system and what is a GUI, because most people look at Windows go like, well, that's an operating system. A GUI is an integral part of an operating system. That really is not the case, okay? An operating system can give you a very minimal user interface that looks like this. Okay, I'm just
Jammed up, and I actually had to route through the printer and print up commands on and then respond to there until I was able to get the line repair.
Yep.
Just moved dollar console to another attachment.
And that wasn't too long ago either.
Yeah.
In the time scale of human machinery, invention, and refinement, that really wasn't that long ago. The internal combustion engine was invented when? Way, way back, when, right? And we're still using the basic design. But when you look at computer technology, it stays there for a few years, and then we move on to something that's completely different. Yep.
Well, my dad's kind of old, and he took computer classes when he was in college.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he was using punch cards.
Yep. But punch cards is not a way to interact with a system. It is a way to get input into a system, and the system will print something on the printout, but it's not an interaction type of machine. Whereas a console is designed for interaction, real-time interaction. You type something in, the computer will give you some feedback.
Using a specific command line language.
Yep.
Like I used to use Tackle, Tandem Advanced Control Language on one system.
And the JCL, your job control language from IBM. And if you watch Star Trek, okay, not the new one, the old one, the original Star Trek, how does Mr. Spock, communicate with the system or the computer? He has a console, right? And they have what? Big tactile mechanical switches, right? And he would look into the console like this, to get the information back from the computer or indicator lights of some kind. When was that made? What was the year when Star Trek, the original Star Trek, aired? 1966. Yes. It seemed like a long time ago because that's before most of you were born, right? But in the timeline of humans using machines and tools and stuff like that, that's a really short amount of time. Okay, most people did not see any type of real change of machinery use for the past few centuries. We kept doing things the same way, the same type of machines and whatnot. And these days, we see changes or complete, really revolutionary changes every few years, and that is going to continue to accelerate.
Every few years, it's like every month.
Well, every month we get something new, but not like completely new. But to get something completely new, like the Google eyeglasses, that's really that's going to be more revolutionary than just evolutionary. Yep.
So what was the GUI?
A graphical user interface. It's basically how you use a mouse, and things are graphical on the screen instead of text. Yep.
Well, I noticed that with the phones and websites that you can get to on the phone with like a mobile device, that the GUI interface seems to be a make or break kind of deal.
Because it's different. A lot of websites have a different URL for mobile devices.
And places like Facebook have been changing their GUI interface, especially for the mobile.
Yes.
A lot because
right.
That reason.
And that is going to be an interesting area if you're a web developer. You basically have to learn a lot of new things, especially with CSS or cascading style sheets, which basically means it really is the same content behind the scenes, but the presentation on the screen is different. And a lot of that can be controlled by CSS alone. Yep.
I know for my web development, Dreamweaver
software goes a long way to helping with the mobile platform.
Enabling mobile devices to easily access the website. Yep. All right. So getting back to the topic here, so we have almost an entire hour of this digression. But I think the digression is on topic. Okay, it's just that I'm changing the ordering of the topics instead of moving from one topic to the next to the next to the next. I'm just saying, okay, well, let's go here and walk. But since we're already there, might as well just explore that part a little bit, and then explore a little bit more, and so on and so forth. And for a survey class, I think it's okay to do that. Some people really hate it when I do all kinds of digression because they want it to be like straight line. But I don't think in that way, so. All right, so getting back on topic here, this is an interesting topic too. At the core of a modern version of Windows is the anti-kernel. Okay, so when I say modern, I'm basically referring to anything that is XP or after. Okay, that's considered modern in my book. NT is an acronym. It's not an acronym. It is an abbreviation of new technology at the time. Okay, these days I have no idea what Microsoft, how Microsoft is going to say what is NT. So NT is just NT, I guess. A kernel is really the absolute core of an operating system. In other words, that really is the centermost piece of an operating system. The GUI is optional. Even to a certain point, even the CLI or the command line interface is kind of optional. Okay, some operating systems do not need to interact with end users, so even the CLI is like, we can do without it. The anti-kernel is a product of the cooperation between Microsoft and IBM, which is actually the second time these two companies cross paths and try to cooperate with each other. Interestingly, the anti-kernel does not share any code or design philosophies with DOS. Now, DOS was the original operating system for personal computers. And this is way back in, the 80s, I think? Yeah, I think it was in the early 80s that the IBM PC was first invented. For the actual date of when something was invented, just go to Wikipedia and search for that. I mean, I don't think there's a need for me to talk about the date, except relatively speaking, when that happens. For the exact date, the exact year, you can always just look it up. I don't even bother to ask questions about that sort of thing. Okay. And this is interesting because DOS was every earlier versions, everything from Windows 2.0, 1.0, 2.0, and all the way up to Windows Millennium or Windows Me, they're all based on DOS. And then from Windows Me or Millennium, the transition into XP was the first time that the consumer type operating system started to use the anti-kernel. Okay, most end users won't realize all these internal changes, except for one thing: the operating system crashes less often. Once they switch to Windows XP, the chances of getting the entire operating system to crash is actually much less compared to Windows Millennium.
Yeah, Millennium crashed almost every day.
I don't think Microsoft actually put a whole lot of effort into it. It really is nothing more than Windows 98, SE second edition, with a little bit of new stuff put into it.
98 was even